What's up, everybody? What's going on? What is going on? Um, and stuff. What is going on? What's going on? I figured we'd do it this way because I wanted to do a non-StreamYards thing, but it wouldn't let me. Still carrying this bad boy. But today, we're going to take apart. Hey, thank you. We're going to take apart this old guy. This Gen1 Eklipse. Always use a little bit of this. Or he had some old Chris Reeve stuff. It comes in handy. Hello, Queen. Oh man, sorry you're hearing all this. Yeah, this is here. Look, that's my tools. Those are all my tools. Let's see if I can get y'all to. Sorry, I'm being silent. I'm gonna take apart. This is Eklipse. So I wanted to show you guys on what it looks like when you're taking apart a pretty much, a non-tri-wade hinderer that is. Let me see it again. Oh, here. This is the Gen1 Eklipse. This is like the OG version of the Eklipse. This is one that does not have the steel insert or the tri-way. And it's pretty cool. And I'm going to show how to take this thing apart. There's millions of videos on this, but I wanted to do a live version on this because I think it'd be kind of fun to show how to do this in a way. Hold on a second, guys. I'm still getting set up here, so that's why I'm kind of going in and out here. So no, Cheeto, this is good. I was trying to test something, but it wouldn't work, Cheeto, so that's why. Which, you know how it goes. Anyways, this is my Weehaws, bit exchanger here, which I think this thing is really cool. I mean, really cool. I love using this. So, anyways, let's take apart this knife. No stalling around. So, anyways, here's where, taking apart, this knife. As I'm trying to look over the camera. It's hard to look over this camera. I always like to have, this is my little holder here. JRM holder here. And I like to put all the pots in. Because I don't really want to lose any of these parts. Because sometimes when it's a Gen 1, you won't get these parts back, probably. I don't know. Jeez whiz. Okay, there we go. So we take this screw out here. Jeez, it's really hard to see. So we put all the screws here. This is my way of taking them apart. So anyone has their own way of taking these things apart. But this is my way. I've always had this way of taking these things apart. Let's see, now it's just a guessing game for the screws here. Actually, you know what's really cool is I don't need this little guy. Sometimes you'll need screwdrivers or... Dang, that didn't work. Nope, that didn't work either. Okay, hang on. This is how I'm doing my lives. I don't care. Jeez, that's gonna be small. I forgot. That's a small... Jeez, I don't think that's gonna fit. I think it's a little too big. Yeah, that's a little too big. So if that doesn't work, you know, you can always use different screws for what you're using, you know. Like this is like an old Cobalt like setup here. So I usually just take these little screws out here. I don't want to, you know, the one thing about it is you don't want to strip any of these screws, because the reason is this is a Gen 1, and these Gen 1s are really hard to find. I'm not joking when I say they're hard to find. And I love this because, well, for one, I always like to put the parts in here just so I can show. So this is what the old school scales look like before they put the horse heads on them. Well, the Gen 1s are pretty hard to find. There's not very many out there, like out in the wild, I would say. What's up, Burn? And so here's, let me get a paper towel here. I always like to get a little paper towel. And then here's my Windex. I use a little bit of hand cream. I always tear these in two because I would keep one as is. So, as you know, kind of doing a dry kind of wiping, you know. Here, let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys to see a little bit better here. So y'all can see this. Alright, there we go. There we go. Now y'all can see this a little bit better. Hey, Fat City, I didn't see you there. Hey, buddy. Well, I did see you. My mind is all over the place today. Why is these coming out? That's weird. Anyways. So here's the little washer. You know, look how dirty that is. It's not even that dirty. What's up, Henry Wheeler? Like, there's really not much dirt that's coming off of this. I don't think I should have done taking this thing apart yet. It's really not that much dirt. But I like doing this. This is actually my favorite. This is my favorite thing to do. I love taking these things apart because they are fun to take apart. This was not really that dirty because I don't really carry this one really hard or use it too rough. So there's that. Also, the blade, the condition on the blade, as you can see, there's a lot of wear and tear. Anyways, yeah, this is a Gen 1 blade. So it's kind of cool, little blade style here. Always got to clean these, you know, got to have a cleaning. And what's really neat is these right here, KPL microfiber. These things are so good. Like, I use these for my tri-ways a lot. And stuff. It's really cool. And I love this. This is a great little knife. You know what the funny thing is when I first got this thing had so much wear and tear. And I love that. I love that about a knife. When somebody builds a knife and you put it together and then you beat the tar out of it, oh my gosh, it's so awesome. It's pretty cool. I actually love that. And it's really fun. Really, really, really fun. So yeah. I don't know where I was going with that. But anyways. Here we go. This is probably boring to everybody, but this is how it looks. This is how the Gen 1 looks with taking it apart. Basically, you get your detent ball. There's a little bit of the that right there. That's how kind of connects when you put it together. See, that's how it looks when you're putting these knives together. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Look, see, there's the holes for the original screws for the filler tab, and the filler tab, here's the filler tab. There's where, look how high that is right there. Wow. And see, the Gen 4, the Gen 2s were different. They come in different things. And, that's the one thing about a Gen 2. A Gen 2. So, in a Gen 2 and a Gen 3, this one is a Gen 2. So, by looks of this right here, if you can see right there, you can tell that this part right here has changed dramatically. So what's really neat is when you open this, there's no gap. There's a huge gap in this right here. So over time, they changed this to make a little more room up here so that it doesn't look. So when I put this back together, I'll show you a little more in depth about it. But yeah, there's your pivot screw. There's your pivot nut, as you call it, nut. Sometimes you gotta just tighten these up just a tad bit sometimes. There we go. Get them nice and tight. Now the lubrication, most knives have different kinds of lubrication. Sorry, I'm cleaning this one off. How do you use this? Oh my gosh, Mr. Eddie, seriously. So anyways, it's pretty cool. Like, this is what I guess sometimes we'll use KPL ultra light. Sometimes I'll use this, or I'll use some of this, or the old school stuff. This is a really old school. So this is this. Sometimes I'll use this kind. I got a lot of different ones, different things. So I'm going to use the lightweight because it's basically, if you could see right there, it says lightweight blades. It says ball bearings for pivots, So you can use this for it, or use this is the original. This is what that is right here. And sometimes I'll use the original because it's easy to just take little tiny dabs, just little tiny. Well, not a lot, but anyways, if it's too much. Anyways, I made a mess. Oh well, it's good to make a little bit, And then you put. So I do about about 2 drops of that. I like to have a little bit of, stableness. And then that goes in there and stuff. No, I'm not getting on the lock face. Even though you can, but not on these. Not on the Gen 1s. So, and then also, I double it sometimes because that way it's easy to keep, I always do a little bit of it on that one. And then just snaps right in. So here's one thing about this, guys. So this is a Gen 1, So before I even put this back, actually, you know what? I'm going to do that. I am going to do this real quick. Hold on. We're going to do it. I'm going to show you a comparison. I'm going to show you some really cool comparisons on the changes that they've done to the Gen 1s. And to the Gen 1s, they've done so much different towards what they've done for the Gen 3s, which is the Gen 3s are basically, the Triway. And so before I put this back, all of it back into place, I always like taking the little bit of the Loctite out of this, and then I keep a little bit, So you just take this here, just rambling like too much. Sorry guys, I'm doing a little bit silent here. And you don't want to over tighten this because this is not a Triway, so this is take about like a little snug, not too snug. And then if it, see, it comes out perfectly. So a Gen 1 basically, excuse me, I had to sneeze for a minute. Anyways, jeez whiz, sneezing like a crazy boy. Okay, let me show you what's really cool about the Gen 1s here. Take this screws out here. So the thing about what they did different about this was, so here's, I'm going to line it up very close together, which I'm going to take my tripod here. This is how much they did. Basically, it's lined up, basically all lined up, like pretty much. And that's how much, like, there's a lot of this right here, basically, just by putting it like that, Yeah. So we'll put this back in. So that's what's cool about that, It's literally, they changed a lot, which you could see a little bit peeking out right here. So technically the Gen 1s were a little smaller until they brought in, the Gen 2s. And the Gen 2s are a little more, they still don't have the Triway, but then the Triway came out. So here's my Triway. And there's still little bit, same thing, a little bit out. So this is basically, what you're getting out of a knife. So yeah, that's one thing I love about these, The one thing is when you're building a knife and you're understanding the quality of it, that's why they call them Gen 1s, Gen 2s, Gen 3s, because it's just the generations, And so when the generations became the more or less or whatever, you can legit, do what you want to do. Sorry if my hand's in the way. Um, so that's one thing, and they're a little more thicker. I've noticed too. Like the originals, a lot of times I think the originals are a little more thicker than your normal ones. See, this is a Gen, so this is a Gen 2, so technically. So pretty much I'm lining this up completely. There's a hair minimal. Probably pretty much the same style as this one. But well, what's cool is I'm putting this one backwards. Is pretty much it's a little hair off, a little bit. So that's the one thing about Gen 1s that people don't realize is, this one was the very first, I think this was the very first Hinder of generations to have a production Tanto to be, just to be that way. That's the one thing I love about this knife. This is my very first Tanto. And what's really cool is now that, I got my first Tanto, it's kind of neat, in a way. Because I've grown to like this knife. And at first, I did not think, like literally, I did not think I was gonna like this knife because I'm not a big Tanto guy. And but I was looking in my collection one day and I was like, hey, you know what? I need some Tantos in the collection. And it's kind of funny because when I bought this knife from a friend of mine, there we go. I'm putting all these screws back in and stuff. So pretty much, so this is how you could tell this is a Gen 1, or not Gen 1, but like so, and later on down the road, you'll have something really cool. When they brought out the Tanto, that was cool. But also when they brought out the Harpoon Spanto, that was cool. But the Warncliffe, oh, that was cool. That's a cool one. And then later on, it was kind of cool in a way that, a lot of things happen for a reason. So it's kind of neat, what you're really getting out of a knife. Like, basically, what are you getting out of a Hinderer? The quality. The quality and the style that you get with the Hinderer. And that is the one thing, the one thing that you'll get. And that's why, my friends, you'll get something pretty cool out of it. Oh, jeez, a wizard. Oh my gosh. Anyways, I really hope everybody liked this live stream. And, yeah. And also, I think this went well. This went very well. And I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to start doing this more. And see what you guys think. Because maybe I'll start doing more and more and more over time. And I think it's going to be cool because a lot of times people don't understand how a knife is, put together or made or put, what I want to do in it. So in that case, oh yeah, then this was kind of neat too. The Gen1s, yeah, their lockup's a little. That's pretty cool. Oh, you just missed my taking it apart and stuff, Mush. It's all good. I'm excited for the next Hinder Eclipse. I wonder if they're gonna make a Gen 5 version. I'm gonna get the auto. That is for one thing I'm gonna do is get the auto because there is an auto version and stuff. Yeah, I don't care, don't care, don't care, don't care. Oh no. Okay, well, anyways. I really hope everybody liked this style of this tutorial on how to take apart a Hinderer and also how to, knowing what you're using, all of this stuff, and also this flashlight is so cool. Boom. Oh my gosh, you could feel the heat off of that thing. UV is so good, but man, it can put a heat. It could heat it up. I think it's really cool. But anyways, guys, I thank everybody for coming. And also, there'll be more. The 20th one that's coming out, that is the last Let's Talk Knives series. And I'll be doing something else because I want to get something done, around my channel. Anyways, guys, have a good one. And,